Hi, this is our first video of EpiData e-learning, and what we're going to explore here is how we can configure EpiData before we start doing any work. What you see here is the front page of EpiData. At the top we have the process toolbar, and this toolbar is going to guide us throughout the process of creating a questionnaire file, our data file where we will be entering our data, adding checks to this file in order to minimize errors in data entry, validating our data by using double data entry, how to create several reports describing different aspects of our data, and how to export it in different formats if we decide to perform analysis in other software. Below here we have what we call the editor toolbar. Some of the icons here are pretty much self-explanatory, and others we will be explained later on. It is important at this stage, before you do any work on EpiData, to spend a few minutes thinking how you're going to work on it, and to familiarize yourself with the different options in terms of how to configure it. So we go to the File tab here, and we go into Options. I'm going to bring this over here. This is a series of things that you can think of before you start doing any work. And some will be more important to others, but we start with the editor. Well, this is pretty self-explanatory. You can select the font you want to work with, the size, different styles, the colors, or the background. This is pretty much a personal preference, but whatever you think will make your work in EpiData more efficient, then that's what you need to go for. The background is by default in white, and I normally tend to leave it like that. You go to the next tab, and here it's a little bit similar. You can also select your font and your background, and this tab here makes reference to the data entry form where you're going to be entering the data from your questionnaires. There's different options that you can choose here, like the field style, where you're going to be entering your data, how you want it to look like. I tend to leave it flat without border. Lines, I tend to put 2 lines because it makes it a little bit easier for the eye. And the field colors, well, yellow will indicate the ones that you actually enter already, and blue the ones that haven't been entered yet. You can change this as you prefer, but this will be the default settings. This is a quite important one. You need to think about it before you start doing anything, and it's how you're going to name your variables. In EpiData you got 2 options which are here. And the first one, which is tick, which it refers to the first word in question, will be the field name or the field variable. Basically what it means is that the first word in your row, EpiData will identify that as the name variable, as the variable for that, as the name for that variable. It's important to remember that variable names cannot be longer than 10 characters. So if that word is longer than 10 characters, EpiData will only take the first 10 characters. And if it's shorter, it won't take any more than the characters in that word. If you check, the other option will be to click on the automatic field names. And actually here you got 2 different options. With the automatic field name, what EpiData will do, it will take the first 10 characters of each row, and that will be your data, your variable name. However, you can specify to EpiData what characters from that specific row you actually want EpiData to take as the variable name. The way in which you do this is by using curly brackets. So you can put as many blocks of curly brackets in that row as you want to, as long as they don't go over 10 characters. EpiData will combine them together to create the variable name. In this occasion, we're going to leave it as first word, and then we'll come back to it. This thing will become a little bit clearer later on. But at the moment, we're going to leave it there. The other option is, how do you want the variables to look like? You want it to be uppercase, lowercase, leave it as it is. It is good practice to leave them in lowercase. The reason for this is that if you're going to perform any further statistical analysis in another software that may be case sensitive, it'll make your life a little bit easier if your variable names are already lowercase. So by default, it is lowercase, and it's recommended that you use lowercase. However, as I said, this is also a little bit of personal preference. As we can see about in the process toolbar, there's one of these steps in your whole process is here called document. What this step will allow you is to create a series of say reports or with information regarding your data, information regarding your variables. And here you can select how do you want that document to look like. In terms of the advanced ones, there's not really an awful lot to show here. What you got is the sounds, which some people may like, some people may not. Basically what it means is when you're doing your data entry and you there's an error in the data entry, let's say that the data you're entering doesn't comply with the parameters you're given to EpiData in your check file, then it'll make a sound to alert you. In terms of the ID number fields, you can create, and it's advisable to put ID numbers to all your records unique. And you can tell EpiData if you want EpiData to start not as number 1, but with another number. And this may become clearer later on. You can change the language, and that's probably as much as you can take out of this tab. In terms of file association, there's probably nothing you need to do here. All it shows you is the files that will be part of your project. Note that the note file and the log file may not always be there, but certainly you will have cas and a rec file, and it's definitely advisable to have a check file, although it's not necessary. But it definitely will make your work a lot more efficient, and you'll minimize error. So this is what we can have a look at before we start doing any work on EpiData. And let me just go back. We'll make sure that we got created a file. First word, then we got lowercase. Okay, so this is enough for configuring EpiData.